Hello, good morning to all of you. Today we will discuss the topic of the roof trusses. Here comes the first slide, that is the roof trusses. Why roof trusses are required? So wherever we require the large column free areas for the auditorium, assembly halls and the workshop, we have to use the roof trusses. To get such column free area, one of the most commonly used system is to provide a set of steel roof trusses interconnected with the purlins, which in turn support the GI sheets or AC sheets. The roof trusses are supported on the columns or walls. Here you can see a roof truss. The topmost peak point, it is named as the ridge, and these are the purlins. You can see the channel sections are used here, and on those purlins are supported these GI or AC sheets, and these top chord members we will discuss in the later slide. These are known as the top chord members, and these are the bottom chord members of a roof truss, and they are mainly supported on these either columns or they may be walls. This is the elevation of a roof truss. In second figure you can see the plan. Here it is a truss and there is another truss. There is spacing between the two trusses, and as the purlins are the transverse members to the top chord members, so these are presented in right angles to these trusses. Next comes the bracing. So what is the bracing? As we all know that the trusses are sufficiently strong to transmit the forces acting in their plane. That means that the plane is, if the load is coming in the transverse direction to the roof truss, and along the plane of the truss they are sufficient to carry the forces or to transmit the forces. However, they offer very little resistance to the forces that are acting in the right angle to their plane. Such force may be either due to the wind blowing parallel to the ridges, that you can see this is the ridges in the, this is a cross section. So wind when is blowing parallel to these ridges, this is also parallel to these purlins also. So the wind which is blowing parallel to purlins, the resistance offered by purlins to such forces may not be sometimes sufficient. So to overcome that force we have to use the bracings, and the bracings are provided at the two levels, that is at the top chord level and at the bottom chord level. The top chord level is this one is top chord level, and this is the bottom chord level. So mostly the angle sections are used at the top chord level to form the bracings for the structures, and at the bottom chord level the longitudinal strip which are having the slenderness ratio not less than 250 are used as the bracings at the bottom chord level. The diagonal bracings are also provided in the last but one panel from both the ends to provide the extra resistance to the wind force. And for very long buildings we can see that the additional bracings are provided for every 4 to 5 bays. That you can see that this is a bay. The spacing between the two roof truss forms a bay. So for very long buildings there are a large number of bays, so additional bracings are also provided other than the last but one panel at every 4 to 5 bays. Next comes the type of roof trusses. The triangle is the primary pin jointed frame which has a stable figure. All the trusses should comprise the triangular fingers, and here is the types of roof trusses. The first one is the king post roof truss. You all must have heard. The king post roof truss is the most basic truss which we use when the span of the truss to be provided is just 6 meter or up to 6 meter. If we have to use a truss for larger span, that is 6 to 9 meter, then we have to go for a queen post truss, and for greater than 6 meter to 15 meter and up to 24 meter we have to use these Hobe triangle truss, that is with the either with the 4 panels you can see, and this is with the 6 panels. So These are the different types of the root trusses, and carrying on, this is the Fink or the French truss. You can see this is Fink or French truss. This is also French truss. This is compound French truss. So if we have to use up to 9 meter, then the Fink for French truss can be used, which provide greater stability. And for the larger span, that is up to 20 to 30 meter, we can use the compound French truss. Next is the Northlight roof truss, that is for 8 to 10 meter. It is a different type of truss in a triangular shape. And the last but not the least, that is the Pratt truss, the most commonly used for larger span, 16 to 30 meter span. We will go for the Pratt truss. You must have also heard about this also. Next comes the nomenclature of the members of the roof trusses. This you are viewing a truss with the numberings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and up to 16. And the first one we will discuss the top chord members. This one, the 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and these all are the top chord members. These are also known as the rafters, and the members which are along the uppermost line of the truss, which form the uppermost line of the truss, are known as the top chord members. And these are starting from the one end of the support and to the another end and passing through the peak. These are starting from one end of the support and passing through the peak and joining to the another end of the support. So they directly support the purlins. That means purlins are supported on these top chord members, and they are mainly subjected to the axial compression and due to the live and the dead load which are coming downwards from the roofing material. If the purlins are not subjected to supported at the joints, then these members may also be subjected to the bending stresses, you can see. And the second one is the 1 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, numbering 12 to 13, 13 to 14, 14 to 9. This forms the bottom chord member, also known as the main ties. The main ties, you can remember, these are the members extending from one end of the support to the another end and along the lowermost line of the truss. So these are mainly subjected to the tensile forces due to the dead and the live load. They may either be, the main ties may either be horizontal or they may have slight camber also. So you must have to remember these two things. These are the top chord members, and these are subjected to the compressive forces or bending stresses sometimes also. And these are the bottom chord members, and these are subjected to tensile forces due to the dead and the live loads. Next comes the struts, the members which do not belong to top and bottom chord members and are subjected to the compressive forces are known as the struts, and the members which do not belong to top and bottom chord and are subjected to tensile forces are known as the slings. Then the two words new for you are the struts and the slings. Now they have inner classification also as the main struts and the minor struts and the main slings and the minor slings. Now we will first of all tell you about struts. That is the member, the 3 to 11 and the 7 to 13. 3 to 11 and 7 to 13. These both are the main struts, you can see. And 2 to 10, 4 to 15, 6 to 16 and 8 to 14. These are the minor struts, you can see here. Now comes the main slings, that is the tension, which carry tension forces, 5 to 15, 15 to 11, 5 to 16, 16 to 13. These are the main slings. And now we will go for minor slings, that is the 3 to 10, 3 to 15, 7 to 16 and 7 to 14. These are the minor slings. Now you can see here this 5 to 12 member. This is the sag tie. No load, as no load is acting on the joint B, so the 5 to 12 member is not subjected to any kind of the force, but the member is just provided to reduce the sag in the member 11 to 13. So you have to remember these components or the nomenclature of the member of the truss. This is the rafters, main ties, and the struts. Struts, you can see these struts and the slings, that are the slings. Okay, now we will proceeding to the forward. The pitch of the truss. The pitch of the truss. What is the pitch? Pitch is actually the ratio of the height of the truss to the complete span of the truss. Height of the truss to the complete span of the truss. So the pitch to be provided In the GI sheet covering should be 1 by 6, and for the AC sheet roof covering it should be 1 by 12. It means that we will provide a lesser pitch in case of the AC sheet roof covering. And the preferable pitch, if in case the snow load is expected, is 1 by 4, and if no snow load is expected, then we will provide somewhat lesser pitch. With the snow load we will provide greater pitch, and with no snow load we will provide lesser pitch. Now comes the spacing of the trusses. The distance between the two consecutive trusses, you can see, imagine yourself that if the two trusses, between two consecutive trusses, the space between the two trusses is known as the spacing of the trusses. This space is governed by the size of the space covered by the roof. The spacing is covered by how much size the roof has to cover, depends on the spacing of the truss. Next comes the spacing increases, then the number of trusses reduces. As the spacing increases, number of trusses will reduce, but consequently the cost of purlin will increase. These are some specific data that if we have to provide a 15 meter span truss, then the spacing of the trusses should be 3 to 4.5 meter. If we have to provide 15 to 30 meter span truss, then 4.5 to 6 meter spacing of the truss have to provide, and for greater spans, that is greater than 40 meter, we have to provide 12 to 15 meter of the spacing between the trusses. Next comes the topic purlins. The purlins are located on the panel points of the top chord member, as we have seen earlier also, that the purlins are mainly subjected to what we call these purlins are mainly subjected on the top of the chord members. So again, moving to the slide, we were discussing, this one. Now this depends on the type of roofing material also. So the spacing of purlins is 1.35 to 2 meter usually, and we will use the 3 different type of these sections for the purlins. If this is a smaller spacing truss, 3 to 4 meter, then we use angle iron purlin sections. If it is a medium spacing truss, then we will use channel section purlin, and if it is a larger spacing truss, then we will use the I section purlin. Now there is a note, important note, you have to remember this. If the angles are used as the purlins, then the outstanding legs are at the top, and the lug angles are used to connect that purlins to the rafters, that you will remember what are known as the rafters, that is the top chord member of the truss. Okay, nice one, the good one. Next one is the seating or the roofing material. First one, the GI sheets. GI sheets is nothing but the corrugated iron sheets which are galvanized for protection against the corrosion and used for the roof coverings. The common size of the GI sheets are as the 8 corrugations. You can see that in the zigzag way, the corrugations are in common word, the zigzags. So 8 corrugations, 75 mm wide and 19 mm deep, overall width of 660 mm, and 10 corrugations, 75 mm width and 19 mm deep, and overall width of 810 mm. These are GI sheets. And spacing. Now next comes the sheets. The sheets are available in the gauges. The word is important here, the gauge. The sheets, GI sheets, are mostly available in the market with the terms used as gauges. What is gauge? The gauge is we defined as the thickness. If we will talk about the thickness is equal to 25 divided by gauge. So by considering the gauge, we can evaluate the thickness of that sheet. So mostly it is available in 16, 18, 20, 22 and 25 gauge. So if we are using the 25 gauge sheet, it means the thickness of that sheet would be 1 mm only, and 22 then more than 1 mm. So least thickness of the sheet we can use is approximately 1 mm. The sheets are available in the length of 1.8, 2.2 meter, 2.5, 2.8 and up to 3 meter. Following are the overlaps. This is the side overlaps, means that if we are providing the sheets as a roof covering material, the side laps are 1 to 1.5 or 2 corrugations. Up to 2 corrugations we have to overlap in the sides, one above the another. The 2 sheets have to be overlapped. and the end laps we means that if we are connecting the two seats in the longitudinal direction, then there is a end lap, and that is 100 mm if the slope is more. The slope and end laps are inversely proportional to each other, means if we have a greater slope for the roof covering material, this is provided a greater slope, then there is a end lap is lesser, means 100 mm, and if the slope is lesser than 20, then greater end lap 150 mm. The seats are to be fastened to the purlins or the seating rails by 8 mm diameter hook at a maximum pitch of 350 mm. This you have to remember, that these seats are connected to the purlins or what we call the seating rails by 8 mm diameter hook bolt and a maximum pitch of 350 mm. The spacing of the purlin also depend upon the applied loading, thickness of the seats and the length of the seats, as we all know that how much load is coming on that purlin through the seats. So spacing of purlin depend on these all, applied loading, thickness of seats and length of seats. Next comes the AC seats or asbestos cement seats are better insulator for the sun seat compared to GI seats. Two common shapes are available, corrugated and the trap fold is a somewhat triangle shape. These are available in length of 1.75 to 2.53 meter. The thickness available are 6 mm and 7 mm. And the maximum permissible spacing for the AC seats, if we are using 6 mm thickness seats, then 1.4 meter permissible spacing, and 7 mm thickness seats are used, then 1.6 meter permissible spacing is available. Side lap R1 corrugation and end lap is similar as 150 mm longitudinal overlap. The spacing of the purling have sometimes to be adjusted so that cutting of the seats should be avoided as far as possible. We don't want to waste material and cut the seats, and the cut seats are not much in use, and that cutted portion would be just of the waste. So I think this video would be supporting material for you to have a knowledge about the roof truss. So have a nice day. Thank you.